Athletes may be tested anytime, anywhere. The test can be conducted in competition or out of competition with no advance notice. Urine and/or blood may be collected from an athlete. Specially trained doping control personnel carry out all tests. The following scenes demonstrate the collection of a urine sample during a no advance notice, out of competition doping control session. There are different types of sample collection equipment and forms for the purpose of doping control. The material used in this video is meant only to outline the procedures. It does not reflect an opinion on the type of equipment to be used. Tests should be carried out with no advance notice. The doping control team may make contact with somebody responsible on site and ask for adequate testing facilities. The doping control station should consist of a waiting area, a processing area, and a washroom. The DCO will confirm the facilities are suitable for doping control. They have to be clean and must ensure the athlete's privacy. For wheelchair athletes, the doping control facilities should be accessible without obstruction. The rooms are to be used solely as a doping control station during the sample collection session. The sample collection equipment and the forms are prepared. The doping control team coordinates the control session and the tasks are assigned. One person is the lead doping control officer. Others may act as chaperones. The selection of athletes is based on the requirements of the responsible anti-doping organization. The test may be random or a target test. The athletes are notified that they have been selected for doping control. The official identification and the authority under which the sample collection is to be conducted are shown to the athletes. For a minor or an athlete with a disability, a third party may be notified as well. The athletes are informed about their rights and responsibilities, which include the right to have a representative present at the doping control station. For visually impaired athletes and athletes with an intellectual disability, a representative must be present. The athletes should report to the doping control station as soon as possible, but no later than the time indicated on the notification form, which is usually 60 minutes from the time of notification. The athletes sign the form confirming they have been notified for doping control. The DCO may allow the athletes to delay reporting to the doping control station for activities such as a training. However, the athletes must be chaperoned at all times. The athletes will be accompanied by a doping control officer or a chaperone from the time of notification until the completion of the sample collection process. The athletes will be requested to show a piece of identification at the doping control station. The time an athlete reports to the doping control station is noted on the doping control form. The identity of the athlete is confirmed upon arrival at the doping control station. While waiting, athletes have the opportunity to hydrate. They may do so with their own beverage, or they may choose from a selection of sealed, non-alcoholic, non-caffeinated beverages. Athletes are responsible for what they decide to drink. If requested, the DCO will explain the sample collection procedure to the athlete. The athlete proceeds to the processing area when ready to provide a sample. The identity of the athlete is confirmed, and the doping control officer will begin to fill in the relevant sections of the doping control form. The athlete is offered a choice of collection vessels and chooses one. The athlete checks that the equipment is intact and has not been tampered with. If satisfied, the athlete opens the collection vessel and proceeds with the provision of the sample. Only the athlete and a doping control official of the same gender are permitted in the washroom during the provision of the sample. Minors or athletes with a disability who need assistance may ask to have their representative present as well. However, this representative is not permitted to view the provision of the sample. The passing of the urine sample is witnessed by a doping control officer or chaperone of the same gender. Athletes are required to remove any clothing from the knees to mid-chest and from the hands to the elbows. This allows a direct observation of the urine leaving the athlete's body. These provisions should ensure that it is the athlete's own urine and helps prevent possible manipulation of the urine sample. The athlete maintains control of the sample at all times during the process unless assistance is required due to an athlete's disability. Athletes requiring a catheter or drainage system may use their own equipment or can choose from a collection of sealed devices. Athletes who are using urine collection or drainage systems are required to eliminate existing urine from such systems before providing a urine sample for analysis. Back in the processing area, the volume of the collected urine and the time of sample provision are recorded on the doping control form. As a guideline, between 75 milliliters and 100 milliliters should be collected, depending on the laboratory requirements for the type of analysis to be conducted. If the athlete provided the required amount of urine, a sample collection kit will be selected. The athlete checks that the equipment is intact and has not been tampered with.
Gut. Oh, ich verstehe.
Gut. Zuerst den blauen Streifen wegen hier.
Once the athlete is satisfied, the sealing procedure begins. The athlete opens the kit.
Gut. Und alles rausnehmen. Und einmal die Nummern kontrollieren.
The athlete confirms that the sample code numbers on the bottles, the lids, and the container all match.
Vorne auf der Etikette.
Und 3 auf 4
Und oben.
Once satisfied, the lids from the bottles are removed.
Und die roten Ringe wegnehmen. Die kann man nicht mehr. Ja. Gut, jetzt abfüllen. Zuerst in die Blauflasche.
The athlete splits the sample, pouring the urine herself, unless assistance is required due to an athlete's disability. First, the athlete pours the required volume of urine into the B bottle, and the remaining urine is poured into the A bottle. The athlete is asked to leave a small amount of urine in the collection vessel so the doping control officer can measure the specific gravity and/or pH according to the relevant laboratory guidelines. The athlete then seals the bottles, and the doping control officer verifies that the bottles are sealed properly.
Ja, gut. Noch schnell. So. Und wieder in die Plastiksäcke. Jawohl. Box zutun.
Und wieder bekleben.
Ja, genau. Dann schreibe ich jetzt die Nummern auf.
Ja.
The sample code number of the kit is recorded on the doping control form.
0, 0, 0. Jetzt das schnell kontrollieren.
4-0.
Ja, 0, 0.
Ja.
Jawohl. Gut, dann machen wir hier noch schnell Messungen von Dichte und pH.
The doping control officer measures the specific gravity and/or pH using the residual urine left in the collection vessel. The values are recorded on the doping control form. The DCO shall ensure that any residual urine is discarded in full view of the athlete. If the sample meets the requirements, the athlete is asked to provide information about any medications and supplements he or she has taken recently.
100 Milliliter.
These are recorded on the doping control form.
Dann die
The athlete has the right to note their comments and concerns regarding the conduct of the session.
zwei zuerst
The
unterschreiben.
content of the form is confirmed with the athlete.
Gut.
Ja, dann da geht zum Unterschreiben. gerade
The form is signed by the doping control officer, the person witnessing the passing of the sample, and the athlete's representative. The athlete should be the last person to sign the doping control form.
Ja. Gut. Jetzt gibt es da noch Kopien. Das wäre eine fürs Labor. Da
Ja.
sieht man Ihren Namen nicht. Das ist nur die Nummer.
Copies of the form are distributed as required. The athlete is given a copy of the doping control form. The copy for the laboratory does not contain any information that could identify the athlete. At the end of the session, the samples are securely stored for transportation to the laboratory. With this, the sample collection session is ended and the athlete can leave the doping control station.
Die sollten Sie behalten, mindestens 14 Tage, und dann können Sie auf jeden Fall Bescheid geben.
Das ist gut. Ja.
Prima. Dann
Okay.
wäre es
Ist das alles?
das gewesen, ja. Danke
Danke.
vielmals und
Danke.
noch gute Zeit.
Ja.
Merci.
Ade,
Merci
danke
vielmals.
vielmals. Ade,
Bitte.
danke.
The doping control officer prepares the samples for transport to the laboratory. If required, additional forms, such as the chain of custody form, are completed. The transport to the laboratory must ensure that the samples arrive in proper condition for the necessary analysis. All documents are sent to the anti-doping organization responsible for the test.
Genau. Den kann man zutun. Ist gut. Fertig. Ja. Gut.
There are cases when the sample does not meet the laboratory requirements for analysis. If the urine is too dilute, measured as specific gravity, or the acidity known as pH is out of range, the athlete will be asked to provide additional samples, if required by the anti-doping organization. When an insufficient volume of urine is provided, the amount is recorded on the doping control form.
Machen. Heute mal 20 Milliliter.
Nicht trinken.
The athlete selects a sample collection kit and a partial sample kit. The athlete checks that the equipment is intact and has not been tampered with. Once satisfied, the athlete opens the kit and confirms that the sample code numbers on the bottles, the lids, and the container all match. If they do, the athlete continues with the partial sampling procedure. The athlete pours the urine into the A bottle and then seals the A bottle with a special blue lid.
Und dann den blauen Deckel drauf tun. Zuschrauben. Ja.
On the partial sample bag, the name of the athlete and the date are marked. The athlete and doping control officer sign the bag and one of the control strips that have the same number as the bag. The sample collection kit, the bottle A and the lid of the bottle A are packed in the partial sample bag.
Ja. Und das Deckel auch noch dazu.
Then the partial sample bag is sealed. The control strip is given to the athlete.
So, jetzt muss ich da die Nummern aufschreiben.
The number of the bag is recorded in the partial sample section on the doping control form.
Und das ist
While waiting to provide an additional sample, the athlete shall remain under continuous observation and be given the opportunity to hydrate. When the athlete is ready to provide another sample, the process of sample collection continues as described before.
da auch drauf hin. Mit dem Datum.
The athlete selects a new collection vessel and again provides a sample under direct observation. Back in the processing room, the athlete identifies the security bag using the control strip.
Das wäre Ihre Nummer. Gut.
The athlete opens the bag and takes out all the items.
Das rausnehmen. Jawohl. Und jetzt die Flasche wieder aufmachen.
The athlete will select a new sealed collection vessel and combine the samples, beginning with the first partial sample provided and each subsequent partial sample until the desired volume is reached.
Jawohl. Gut. Jetzt, nein, umgekehrt. Das da rein. Ja. Jawohl.
The total amount of urine is recorded. If there is still an insufficient volume of urine, the collection process continues until the minimum required volume of urine is provided.
Jetzt der rote Deckel.
Once this occurs, the urine sample is processed according to the procedure described earlier.
Heute mal 150 Milliliter.
The WADA accredited laboratory will adhere to the international standard for laboratories when processing a sample, ensuring the chain of custody is maintained at all times. The B bottle is stored in a cool and secure place, and when requested is used to confirm an adverse analytical finding from the A sample. The A sample is opened and analyzed for substances on the prohibited list.